I got tired of seeing people who are qualified to be where they are second guess themselves. I see leaders who have amazing leadership qualities and abilities that self-doubt creeps in. That's why I was like, nope, no more self-doubt. We're going to silence that, and you're going to excel because excellence is your only option. We are not settling.
You're listening to the TJ Moore Podcast. Today's guest is Michelle Edelen from North Carolina. Known as the Excellence Engineer, Michelle is an author, global keynote, and TEDx speaker. She is also a coach for other speakers and helps them to charge more than $5,000 and up for their presentations. She and her husband, Tim, pastor Fountain of Living Waters Church in North Carolina, and she's been featured on many media channels, including Fox News, ABC, NBC, and publications such as the Boston Herald and Chicago Journal. And her TED Talk has already been viewed more than 300,000 times. Michelle, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Now, one of your mantras is always excel, never settle. Excellence is your only option. And your signature keynote is activate your inner excellence. So you have created a custom framework called F.L.O.W, F.L.O.W, in excellence. So what do the letters of F.L.O. stand for?
F.L.O. is an acronym, and the F is for faith. For me, I have a very strong faith foundation in God. But we also have to have faith in ourselves. L is for leverage. We have skills, abilities, knowledge, gifts, talents, but do we leverage the things that we already have? And then the O is opportunities. When those good opportunities come our way, do we actually seize them? Or do we let them fall to the ground and go to waste? And then the W is wisdom. And that's when you put it all together. Your faith in something bigger than you, faith in yourself, leveraging everything that you have inside of you, seizing all of the good opportunities. And that wisdom tells you what to do with everything that you have, all of your inner excellence.
What are some of the things in life that can get to be obstacles, or you use the term piling on, that can sort of clutter our sense of our own excellence?
So for each individual, it may be something very different. For me, it was a layoff, and I was a top performer. I was top in the sales team. I had the career. I had all of the backing of my customers, et cetera. And I got laid off right along with everybody who didn't have all those things. I'll say it that way. Your pile could be anything. It could be a life-altering event like a divorce or losing a loved one, and it can pile on top of you. And sometimes it can feel like a ton of bricks that will actually buckle your knees. There are strategies that you can use that I had to use to get the pile off of me so that I could get to my inner excellence and learn to own and activate that inner excellence that's already inside.
And I remember you shared in that TED Talk that you had just had a new house, you had just had a new child. So the timing was not ideal for having a layoff or massive work change like that. And also in that talk, you talked about how there are times when we're looking for external validation. So can you just speak about what the difference is when people are looking inside versus externally for that validation?
We're looking at, do I have all of the degrees? Do I have all of the certifications? Do I have all of the experience? And don't get me wrong, I have degrees, I have certifications, I built a career, but that can't be the thing that fortifies who you are. That can't be your foundation. It has to be what is internal to you, because what's internal to you is the only thing you can control. So your inner excellence is your abilities, your gifts, your skills, your knowledge, and your talent. You have all of those inside you already, and no one can take that from you. But when you are relying on something or someone external to you to give you that validation, to help you to be who it is that you want to be or think that you are, then those things can easily be taken away from you. So that career that I thought was going to take me all the way through to retirement, it was taken away from me.
So when you were 7 years old, you've told me that you had a knowing that you were going to become a public speaker. So what was it that brought you that sense of clarity at such a young age?
So at 7 years old, I was a newly promoted junior scout. I had just been promoted from being a brownie to a junior scout. And that was a big thing. Okay. And the brownies for our troop, we sold the most cookies. And because we sold the most cookies at 7 years old, we were young now. Don't judge us. We thought we should go on the coveted trip to the Daisy Lowe house in Georgia. So all of my friends, the other 7-year-olds, they said, Michelle, you go tell the troop leaders, you tell them that we should go because we sold the most cookies and we deserve that. We earned that. So I go to the troop leaders and I have my whole little spiel ready. And, I'm like this tall and I'm looking up and I'm telling them my whole spiel. And of course, they're laughing at surely you don't think we're going to take 7-year-olds out of the state. We're not even taking y'all out of Raleigh. So, but I knew in that moment that I was a speaker because I enjoyed advocating for my friends. And I enjoyed commanding the room and having their attention and having them listen to me. Now, we didn't get the trip. We got like a 1970s version of Chuck E. Cheese or something. So we got the trip. And then in my church, I was voted to be right around the same time, 7, 8 years old, the president of the junior ushers. So I go to, the leadership of the church and tell them we want to wear something different and colorful and bright, etc. And we actually were allowed to do it. And it was based on what I shared. I knew that I had the ability to move people with my words. That was a real turning point for me. I was the one that had, Michelle talks too much on her report card all the time. And fortunately, my parents never tried to silence my voice. They were like, keep talking, because you have words that matter. Your voice matters. And I think for a lot of people, their voice is silenced somewhere along the way. It's hard to get it back sometimes, but that wasn't my story. My parents just were like, nope, you keep talking. That's your thing.
Back then, when it was just cookies, even in a small group of kids, someone is looking for who is the natural leader.
Yes.
If they want to know who's brave enough, who has enough courage, who's the one that can go to the adult and represent the entire group. So many leaders emerge even when they're younger, but they might not identify that as a quality within themselves yet, because for them, it is a natural thing. And they're thinking, why won't anyone else go over there and ask for permission or tell them what our plan is,
Absolutely. And when things come natural to you, you don't think about it as necessarily a gift or an ability. You don't think about it as your excellence. It's just what you naturally do. Fortunately, again, my parents were there and they helped to shepherd that and to nurture that in me and help me see that this really is a gift. It's a skill that you have. And of course, you gotta use your superpowers for good because, it's also gotten me out of a ticket or two, but you have to use your superpower for good. Fast forward to high school and Future Business Leaders of America, we had those organizations and I was the president of our chapter and went to compete and I loved it. So it never stopped from that first time that I remember at like 7 years old, all the way through high school and into college and my career. And even now I serve, I'm completing my term as the Vice President of Finance for National Speakers Association, Carolinas chapter. And for the new fiscal year that starts July 1, I will become the member at large on the executive board. So even now, it is still a big part of my life and what I do, which is leading and talking about leadership and talking to leaders and helping them to see you have everything you need inside you to lead. It's just a matter of tapping into it. And sometimes you got to get some stuff off so that you can get down to it, so you can begin to own and activate it. When I say own it, I mean accept that this is your excellence. This is how you are. This is who you are. And then activate it, meaning you got to do some work with it. You got to do something with it. You can't just sit there and wait for it to bubble up and magically it begins to happen. You got to do some work.
Now, you were also a flight attendant. So how did that career help with your current career now that's very public facing and you're working with hundreds and hundreds of new people all the time in these organizations?
Yeah, so I was a flight attendant back many years ago. I'll just say it that way. And I learned as a flight attendant that you have to meet people where they are. When you are, and as a leader, that's really important. As a flight attendant, everybody who boards has got something going on. They're either super excited, I'm going on vacation, the family's going to Disney, we're going out of the country, we're going to Vegas, we're going to DC, we're going to spend New Year's Eve in Manhattan. Like everybody's got something going on. But then there are also people getting on a plane and I got to get to Dallas for a funeral, or, my mom or dad is sick, I got to get to the hospital ASAP. Let's go. So you have to meet people where they are. As a leader, you have to learn to meet people where they are. Everyone on your team is not going to be at the same place. As a flight attendant, communication was the key. Sometimes I was looking at your body language, and your body language was telling me, yep, this one's carrying a little something that's a little heavy. So, talk to them, interact with them a certain way. They're super excited, got on, Mickey Mouse ears, and they're ready to go. It really matters how you engage with people and how you communicate to them or with them. And as a leader, you gotta find how you need to interact with that particular person, because it is not one size fits all.
You've trained over 25,000 professionals at this point in communication, and organizers that do the event planning trust you enough to where they're contacting you and saying, who should we choose for our speaker? What are some of the qualities that you look for when you are helping an organization choose someone to be a speaker?
There are a lot of myths out there about what event planners are looking for. And in particular, I've had the pleasure, it's been an honor actually, to help TED Talk curators review and select speakers based on their applications. And based on the applications, whether you're doing a call for speaker or you're doing a TED application or you're pitching yourself, one of the main things I would love to get speakers to understand is that you have to position yourself. You are telling us a story. You're telling us who you are, what you speak on, who you speak to, why you speak to them, and what you're going to tell them. Because event planners have real problems that they're trying to solve with the event that they're curating. You're not going to get everything you pitch. I don't get everything I pitch. I get lots of rejections, lots and lots and lots. But I continue to pitch. And I continue to get accepted as well. I continue to get those congratulations, we've selected you as a speaker kind of emails as well. You're going to have to take both the rejection and the acceptance. But positioning yourself properly is one of the biggest things I see that speakers don't do well. And then another thing is position yourself this way, but your talk is about this. If an application is confusing, we don't have the time to decipher. For 12 slots for a TED Talk, we may get 200 applications. What is your experience in this particular area that would make us select you? And they'll put see resume and attach your resume. You probably don't.
They're giving you more work.
You don't want to do that. Another thing, in order to keep the integrity of the process and make everything equitable for all speakers, we are only given your first 200 words to read. So if you haven't hit your point in those first 200 words, we don't read your additional 5 paragraphs, because that's not fair to the person who followed the rules and gave 200 words.
Yeah, that's why those guidelines are there, to help streamline the process of the selection. And on your website, you say most speaker applications get rejected because you're pitching the wrong events, completely missing the relationship building component, and
Yes.
misunderstanding what event organizers actually want. What are some of the fatal mistakes that speakers do that prevent them unknowingly from getting booked?
Event planners want a speaker who is going to solve their problem through the talk that you give. For every event, there is something that is the problem, is the issue, is the theme that they want to have addressed with everything in that entire event, whether it's the keynote, whether it's the workshops, whether it's the breakout sessions or training sessions, whatever it is. They want everything to kind of flow into that theme and solving a particular problem. I don't care how slick your speaker reel is. I don't care how many bells and whistles you have on your speaker one sheet. All of those things, you have to make sure that you are aligned with their theme and you are helping to solve their problem. I think that's one of the biggest issues, one of the biggest mistakes that I see speakers make.
Sometimes they might be thinking, I'm getting so many rejections, but the ones that they're selecting to apply for don't have the most alignment and matching and theme with what they actually are an expert in.
I have people reach out to me all the time and say, hey, Michelle, could you do a workshop on networking? And I'll tell them I can, but that's not my real area of expertise, but I've got somebody I can recommend. As a speaker, don't be afraid to recommend someone to an event planner, because that event planner is going to remember, hey, Michelle bailed me out. I was struggling to find somebody and Michelle bailed me out. And what will happen is, and it may be way down the line, that event planner will remember you and come back to you later, or that event planner will hear another event planner or, a curator of an event say, wow, I need somebody who can talk about whatever, and say, oh, I got the perfect person for you. It's Michelle.
For new speakers, you have a really amazing tool that I have already looked into and looked at some of the questions. So it's a speaker pricing calculator. And
Yes.
I want to go over just a few things that you say on there. You say you're not selling a speech, you're delivering transformation. You're not getting paid what you're worth because you don't know what your talk is actually worth. Event planners have budgets. They expect to pay speakers. The problem isn't that you're not good enough. The problem is you don't have your number solidified. What are some of the questions that pricing calculator addresses to narrow down someone's pricing speaker fee?
5 different categories: your travel, your topic authority, your speaking experience, the audience size that you normally serve, and where you are in terms of your talk preparation. So, and then within each of those 5 categories, it drills down with some specific questions. So, for example, have you spoken or been paid for, 0 to 5 paid speaking engagements? Or are you at 20 plus? Because it makes a difference in terms of what your number might be. When I had only done, a handful of speaking engagements, paid speaking engagements, even in my opinion, my talk was very different than it is now, where I've done so many more. And sometimes you just have to get the reps in. And, there's a fine line between speaking for, a slice of pizza or exposure, and then making the transition to speaking for pay. So I did a lot of speaking for a meal, a lot of speaking for exposure, and then made the transition into speaking for pay. And now I've been able to do a lot more speaking for pay. Do I still do some speaking where I get what we refer to as non-cash considerations? Absolutely. Because sometimes the non-cash considerations will get you business in the long run.
That just made me think of the O in your flow framework, opportunities, because there are some that they might not seem as obvious. But later on, it's like, okay, yes, that was the opportunity that connected to me to that person or to that organization. They wouldn't have known who I was if I hadn't said yes to that one. And Tonya Montella, she has said that I was speaking for free and I didn't know what to charge. Michelle helped me see my value, and now I confidently quote my speaker fee. So I also want to bring up how there are some types that are looking for just a presentation, direct to audience, and then some are looking for a workshop style where you're facilitating a dialogue, not just a monologue, with the group, no matter whether it's big or small. What are some of the common questions that you get the most often from the audience when they are doing these workshops with you in person?
When I'm doing a workshop or a keynote, I always try to leave time for Q&A, no matter the size of the audience. And it can get a little dicey sometimes when it's a really large audience. And of course, you have to clear all of this with the curator or the event planner beforehand so that logistically they can have everything set up, like with people in the audience to run a microphone to get to the person who wants to ask the question. Those things are planned out in advance. But the questions that I get related to my flow model is, Michelle, how do you know a good opportunity? In order to know what is a good opportunity for you to seize, you have to have put in some forethought. You have to have a strategy and a plan for your life, your career, your business, your relationships, your family, your home. This doesn't just apply in corporate. It doesn't just apply to associations. You can apply this framework to your entire life. But it takes some planning and some strategy. One of the things that my kids always laugh about with me is they'll say, no matter what you come to mom with, she's going to listen. But her first question is going to be, what's your plan? And that's true. And I am that way everywhere. What is your plan?
When you're doing these workshops in person with people, and so let's say there's 50 people in the group, there can be a feeling of shyness or not wanting to share and things like that. So what are some of the ways that you help ease people in, get them comfortable, and help them stay engaged where they actually want to be asking and answering things with you?
So for me, that starts before I ever show up to speak. I spend time with the event planner and talk to them and ask them questions about their corporation, about their association, their chamber, whatever. Ask them, what are some of the questions that you all get from your team members or your employees, staff, whatever you call them? What are some of the questions that you get? What are some of their concerns? And then the day of, I get there early so that I can meet people. I can, introduce myself as they're walking in, I'm walking in. Really, all you need is maybe 3 or 4 people in the room that you built a little bit of a rapport with, something I call a pre-stage playbook that I share with my coaching clients. And it's the things that I do a few weeks, to a few hours and a few minutes before getting on stage, right down to hydrating and eating properly and exercising, like moving your body. And I don't mean exercises and breaking sweat, but before you get on stage, you need to have moved your body so that you are ready. As you can see, I'm more animated when I talk, but I have to be ready for that. You have to have your energy level up, like your physical energy level up. So there are just some things that you can do before you ever even take the stage that will make it easier for everybody to engage.
Something that was really surprising to me is I had interviewed Sharon Jacobisi, who runs one of the Mic Drop Club LA chapters. So
Yes.
She's doing in-person workshops with all kinds of people who want to sharpen their skills. Most of what she shared with me was actually about body language and your energy, your movement. I asked her, what are some of the mindset skills that you help people with? She said, actually, what I focus on is called the body set.
That is 100% true. So I am in Mic Drop Club Raleigh.
Oh,
And
really?
love it.
That's
It was
awesome.
yeah, it's great. It was formed by Jess Ekstrom, and she is an amazing speaker and speaker coach, and she is my speaker coach. And Mic Drop Club is where we come together in person quarterly, but virtually every single month, and we work on all of the things: eye contact, body language. What's the difference between virtual and being in person? How do you prep for both? What does the body language say when you are virtual versus being in person? Your body language tells a whole story, and so many people miss that.
There's a story that you have about in Vegas, there was a consumer electronics show where you dressed up as Wonder Woman in a costume. So I want to ask, what was behind all of that for you?
I was in sales with a telecom company at the time, and we were all wearing costumes, and I chose to wear Wonder Woman, and I had the golden lasso of truth, and I had a lot of fun with that lasso. But it was interesting to see how people responded to all of us in costumes. This was in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. Super professional, blue suit, black suit, gray suit, that was it. And I really took on who Wonder Woman was and walked in and owned the place. As a speaker, you have to walk in and own the stage. You can't walk in and become demure and small and shrink back, whether you're on a stage and there are 15 people or there are 1,500 people. You have to give it the same 100%, no matter how many people you're speaking to.
The word got out at that event when you were wearing that because you became almost like a symbol of confidence. I've been in more than 25 plays in my own life as an actor. And it's so fascinating how putting on a costume and becoming someone else gives you all these layers of confidence that you're like,
Yes.
How come I can't have just a tiny percentage of this in my own life? Like it's very mysterious. And even, Meryl Streep, Viola Davis, I think of Glenn Close. Glenn Close is famously an introvert, and she talks about that a lot with mental health. And they say, well, but how do you go from your real life to becoming, all the characters that we know Glenn Close playing? And she says, well, to be perfectly honest with you, the costume, the hair, the setting, being there in real life with real people, she's like, at home, you can prepare and you can do the whole script, but it's not until you're there in that costume and then you start to become the energy of that on another level. And I want to go over some of the books that you've written. So you have some of them with you right there in your office so we can show people what they look like. So what inspired you to write Unshakable Confidence?
I got tired of seeing people who are qualified to be where they are second guess themselves. I see leaders who have amazing leadership qualities and abilities that self-doubt creeps in. That's why I was like, nope, no more self-doubt. We're going to silence that and you're going to excel because excellence is your only option. We are not settling. And so in this book, Unshakable Confidence, I step you through that, but I also have 30 days of self-paced coaching so that you don't just read, but you begin to do some exercises and some activities that help to reinforce it. And then it'll stick. Then you'll begin to walk in it. And it's not even just confidence. It is in that place of knowing that I have excellence inside me. And it's my abilities, my gifts, my skills, my knowledge, and my talent. And no one can take it from me. I just have to own and activate it. That's what this will help you with. Love it.
This is such a big theme too, because people think confidence is some sort of like psychological game that they got to win in their own mind or whatever. But what I've learned is that confidence is something that is demonstrated through action.
Most people think of it as some nebulous, kind of thing out there. It really is very tangible because it's tied to action. If you don't take the action, if you don't do the work, then you're not going to get most of the things that you need and want in life. just in general. And confidence is the same way. You have to take action.
There's been many people in my life who've asked me, how are you confident enough to do ... Again, they're looking at an action or they're looking at a result and they're saying, but what was it that you were feeling that led to that result? And my answer is usually it has very little to do with what I'm feeling on a day-to-day basis. In fact, I'm usually doing it in spite of what I'm feeling, knowing that I'm taking a step in the right direction.
Exactly. If I had my way, I would be sitting and reading in my favorite Bible. I call it Big Green. It has a green cover. And or watching Christmas movies year round. Or I would be playing with my grandsons. I have 4 grandsons who are the most amazing human beings in the world. Professional speaking and having a professional speaking business is beyond what I like or what I want to do. It is an absolute calling for me. My husband and I pastor a church. It's a calling for us. It's an assignment.
There's so many times where people are trying to identify their own or discover their own purpose or their identity or their calling, but they're sort of trying to do it only in the realm of ideas. They're not realizing, what do you enjoy doing? What are you naturally good at? What's something that you can start to improve and get community support for? Like, don't try to do it all alone either. That's a dead end to giving up when you're, I'm not seeing any results, so I'm going to stop. Well, but you don't have any accountability. You don't have anybody who's cheering you on. So the other book that I want to mention here is you have one called Affirmations of Excellence for Women, 90 Days to Engage, Equip, Empower, and Encourage Women to Greatness.
I think it is so important that we speak life over ourselves, that we truly stop allowing society, other people, the media, social media, politicians, all of it speak over us and speak into us, and that we begin to speak life into ourselves. It was just my way of putting out into the world a book where women can literally go through page after page, where it gives a journal prompt and what I'm grateful for today. Some of these are scriptures. Some of these are inspirational quotes. So you get to write what you are wanting to say as an affirmation to you.
So where's the best place for people to buy Unshakable Confidence and Affirmations of Excellence?
So Affirmations of Excellence was released, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So this one is actually on Amazon. And you can just search my name, Michelle Edelen, and it's on Amazon. Unshakable Confidence is on a different platform. It's called Books By. And I I have a link for that. And you can search by my name. I try to keep everything simple. You can find me by my name everywhere. Website, LinkedIn, everything, Michelle Edelen. And you can find both of the books as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that for clients and companies who want to book Michelle, or even speakers that want to work with you in your coaching programs and your master classes, they can go to michelleedelen.com. And that is the fastest way to get to all the different ways that you are available. And you can also directly reach out to Michelle on LinkedIn.
If you are a new speaker, emerging speaker, existing speaker, if you're an author or a coach and speaking is something that you're thinking about or that you want to incorporate as part of you being an author, a book tour, and you're having to speak, and you just are wanting some help with how do I do that? How do I become a more effective and efficient and confident even speaker? Then feel free to reach out to me. I've worked with many, many, many speakers and helped them to become better and to also have their talk get tighter. Many times when speakers come to me, their big idea is all over the place. Oh, I want to speak on this. I want to speak on that. This is my niche. This is my niche. And then their talk is as broad, as wide as anything you've ever seen, helping you narrow down your big idea and then structure your talk based on your big idea. Because that is what will help you to pitch yourself and have more success versus being really broad and wide and all over the map, as they say, with everything that you do. So love working with coaches. And then for organizations of all types that are looking for a speaker, I've been doing keynotes for many, many, many years. I also do breakout sessions, workshops. I MC. I facilitate panels. I serve on panels. I kind of do all aspects of speaking, and I love it. And I know that it is my jam. It is my calling, my thing that that I am gifted with and able to do, and would love to connect with your organization or with you as an event planner to see if we can collaborate. But I am very specific in my one-on-one coaching with speakers, new, existing, any speakers. I do it as a VIP day, and it's an intensive. It is a 4-hour intensive. And that intensive, we spend the majority of our time on two things, and that is narrowing in on your big idea. Most speakers, again, come to me and their big idea is all over the place. I help you narrow in on that. And then we spend a good bit of the 4 hours looking or working on structuring your talk based on your big idea. And I have a framework, a flow that I take you through, a process that I take you through. And I literally, if you will trust me and you will follow the process, we will step directly through it, and you will then be able to have the structure for your talk. And when you leave the VIP day, and then you'll have to go in and add the meat, the stories that you want to add, the questions you want to ask, the statistics you want to share, the quotes you may want to add. So all those kinds of things you have to decide and add. And then I give you a bonus hour where we come back together in about 30 days where you've had time to work on it. And we can talk through what you have, and you even practice. I have lots of speakers who come back and use that hour to practice, and we go through it and we hit it hard. I give a lot of good feedback to help you be ready.
And then for those people, you can see their progress. You can see how far they've come from the idea stage to practicing, and then where they're getting in-person feedback from you after some time has passed. So how does that feel for you to be on the other side of that, where now you're actually able to be coaching people?
I love it. I created that calculator because it's what I wish I had when I started. I get questions all the time from speakers now. Michelle, how do I know what to charge? How do I know when and how to transition from speaking for exposure or speaking for free to speaking for pay? So that's where the calculator came from. That's how it was born. And then that was a bit of a natural progression into the VIP day coaching to then further help the coaches understand, okay, you have this base number. You may or may not pitch at that number. Just because that's your base number, it doesn't mean you're going to pitch there, because you may not have your talk at a point where you're ready to charge or where you're ready to pitch at that base number. But at least you have it and you know it. And then in the VIP day, we can work on some things that will help you be ready to move in the direction of being able to charge whatever it is that your number is.
Rory Vaden is a Hall of Fame speaker, and he's also a personal branding expert. So he was talking about how when people are getting started, it can be good to think not just vertically, like, oh, these are all the companies that I want to speak at. But he said you need to start thinking horizontally. So when you have an opportunity, what other associations or organizations at that level are looking for someone in a similar theme, in a similar industry?
Right.
You can't just start going for, like, I want to speak at Google. You have to work up to some of those opportunities.
Exactly. So if, for example, you land a talk, paid or unpaid, All right, let's lay that out. Pitch to every chamber in every city or county in your state, like every single one of them. When you speak at your local chamber, you knock it out of the park. You set the stage on fire. The first thing you want to do is you want to ask for testimonials from whoever brought you in to speak. I have a slide where I have a QR code. And if you scan a QR code and you give me the feedback, you complete the survey and you give me the feedback, you get a free download from me. I have gotten so much valuable feedback and so many testimonials using that format. And when those testimonials come in, I'll put them in an email that I'm going to send to every chamber in the state of North Carolina, pitching myself to speak.
So there's a lot of organizations that and associations that the reason they exist is to bring together many different professionals from different companies in the same industry. The difference there is if you can get in front of that group, whether it's 20 people or whether it's 50, if you can get in front of them, you're getting in front of more people to recommend you to their company versus if you're only starting with a company approach. In that strategy, sometimes the limit can be most of the people you're speaking for are actually simply employees for that company. And they're not going to necessarily help you expand because you've already interfaced with the event planner for that company.
I'll ask the event planner for the company that brought me in, would you give me however many, I usually say 3 to 5 warm introductions to your colleagues at other companies.
There's a very well-known speaker, Ed Milet, who also has his own show, podcast, all of that. And he talks about this concept that you just mentioned, where he asks the question after he's met with somebody or collaborated, who do you know that I should know?
I have never had an event planner or a corporation even bring me in and not be willing to give me a testimonial. And quite often I get multiple. You'll get one from the event planner, whatever unit or division was in the corporation that was bringing you in, whoever is the VP or the president or whatever of that division. Quite often you can get a testimonial from them. And then I have my slide with my QR code where I'm getting the feedback and testimonials from people who are actually sitting in the audience. So I'm getting it from various angles. And it's so important that you prove yourself. And then as a speaker, you don't want to be seen as for lack of another word to use, a diva. You want to be very easy to work with. You don't want the event planner to have to chase you down to get your bio, your headshot, your slides in advance of the event. You want it to be that they say, Michelle was the easiest speaker I've ever had to work with. That's what you want, because if your reputation gets out there that you're hard to deal with, you're a diva, then that's very difficult to overcome. And you see it all the time. I'm sure in acting, you see it as well, that there are those that, you got to have all of the amenities. It's always interesting to me when they ask me, Michelle, what are your requirements? What do we have to have for you? And at first I didn't know exactly what it meant. So I asked, I was like, what do you mean? Well, do you prefer, if you want ginger ale, do you prefer Seagram's or do you prefer Canada Dry? I'm like, what? Like, is that a thing? Room temperature water, we're good. That's it. But you find speakers who are a little more high maintenance.
Yes, I've worked with many actors and comedians that do have very specific specifications. If you don't have only green M&Ms, even though they all taste the same, you want to be seen as someone who has their media package together.
I try to have a media kit so that you click the media kit link and it takes you to headshots, bio, speaker reel, TED Talk, all the things. And it's really interesting because most people who go to my media kit and that I pitch, they always watch my TED Talk, but not necessarily the speaker reel. And I'm like, geez, this is interesting. But I think it's because the TED Talk is 100% unedited and authentic. And it's Michelle on stage, and whatever misspoken words that may come out, none of that's edited with a TED Talk. Your TED Talk is you on a red dot with a microphone on. Let's go. And it gives people a really good feel for who and how you will be on stage. TED curators will invite me to coach their speakers. They're not editing out, verbal pauses and things like that. They're not editing that out. And you got to live with it, because your TED is going to live in perpetuity. I thought about my TED. I said, okay, do I want my great-grandchildren? Am I going to be pleased with my great-grandchildren seeing this? Because it's going to outlive me.
Some of their TED Talks are some of the original ones, and they have tens of millions of views.
Yes.
So even though that was a snapshot of where they were in their speaking career, it is something that precedes them because it's a colossal brand. The TED brand on YouTube alone has more than 40 million subscribers.
Exactly. And so I really took that in consideration when I was preparing for my TED. And I wanted my TED to align with my signature keynote of Activate Your Inner Excellence.
Michelle, this is so much fun for me. And I know that there's going to be some time in the future where I want to hear more of your stories.
I've got them.
To hear more experts share their story, subscribe to the TJ Moore Podcast on YouTube and follow this show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to listen anywhere you go. Like and comment on this video if you found today's conversation valuable, and share this episode with someone in your life. I'll see you next week.